Today we're going to discuss market in terms of how to size your market, your total market, your addressable market, the market you can actually reach. Devin's going to lead us off in that discussion, and then Raja will take over and discuss how to really connect with your consumer. What's that fit for your product? What's your differentiation? What's your uniqueness? How you can grow that market? How you can connect with the consumer? That's going to be our discussion, and then we'll figure out where to go from there for our small room breakup. I will let both Devin and Raja introduce themselves before they begin speaking. But we are going to kick off with Devin. Of course, our goal here is to always give you sort of that feel of what investors and those who are looking at small businesses, what they're telling small businesses to do, how they're telling small businesses to think as they grow. That's our goal, is to pass that knowledge along to you today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our good friend Devin Pons, who's spoken a couple times now for us at these events, and we appreciate him being here. So Devin, if you would kick us off, I would appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thanks, Tom, for the intro. Excited to speak with you guys about addressable market and defining your market. Just a quick background on where I come from. I'm a CPA originally, and then I founded a brewery in 2014. I grew that brewery up as CEO until 2019 and then exited. And since then, I've been advising consumer goods brands, sometimes as a board advisor, sometimes as a part-time CFO, for the past 4 or 5 years. So I deal with a ton of investor communication, either potential investor or existing equity partners, planning, forecasting the future, and looking at what's working and not working in the market. So this is going to be colored with basically what I've seen in a ton of pitch decks and a ton of like Q&As. So quickly defining the three terms that we can talk about here are total addressable market, serviceable market, or I'm sorry, total available market, serviceable market, and then target market. So total available market, this is the broadest circle in your Venn diagram. And the most typical way to show these things is here's your absolute, as broad as possible, every option for where our product could fit or our brand could fit into the economic world. So use every iteration of the product, every use case, every future development plan. Talk about markets you know that you can't get into for a long time. So foreign countries, stadiums, retail channels that aren't on your to-do list in the first few years. This is where you put everything in, because the next Venn diagram level is your serviceable market. And this is where you discount it to things that are more realistically within your company's scope. So this is the subset of the total available market that you can actually hit with some geographic and without geographic and political limitations becoming a big issue, without legal restrictions obviously being an issue, and without like obvious limitations on your supply or your product development. So like even though coffee gets sold everywhere, doesn't mean you can sell coffee in Italy next year because you have a realistic limitation on your supply. At the same time, there are ways to hit that serviceable market, ways to get around that supply, that we can talk about, and you can suggest in your pitches. I would still go pretty big on this one too. I mean, really for TAM, it's go big or go home, put everything in there that's realistically possible. Serviceable market, if you can tell a story for how you're going to get there in the next 3 years, like a medium to long-term investor timeframe, then put it in there. And your final bucket is your target market. And this is where you define the specific cohorts, the specific geography, the specific retail targets, if that's what you're going for, that you are going to hit in the first 1-2 years as you ramp up and start to see your initial revenue. So this target market is the final subset that actually is going to roll into your financial forecasting that you put out there in a deck. The SAM and the TAM are 3-year, 5-year goals for your brand in the future to show where it can be. How do you calculate these market sizes? Broadly, there are two methods, top down or bottom up. If you have an existing market, like a product that already exists and you are iterating on it, then you have existing data out there, people that are currently purchasing, the size of the dollar value of the current market. So you can top down extrapolate how much you either think you're going to cannibalize from these, take away from the existing market, cannibalize from it, or if you're like an additional type product, you can size your market similarly to an existing market and say that that's our overall thought for where this new product could scale up to. Then there's bottoms up, and this is where you get creative, and it depends on what channels you're going through as to what assumptions you're going to be able to use and what you're going to want to use. For example, if you're wanting to go into, if your first target channel is likely going to be retail, it's straightforward to say there are these natural retailers, there are these grocery retailers, there are these big box retailers or club retailers. I'm going to go for natural. There are 10 that hold this many doors in the market. I'm going to get this many of those doors. So doors within the retail environment is a big assumption if that's the way you're going, and then turnover within each of those doors. So how many units, usually cases, depending on, I mean, with almost anything, it's cases regardless. If you're dealing with direct to consumer, you've certainly heard, or you should look up average customer value, ACV, AOV, average order value, order cadence. So basically, if you have something that's going to be sold once, like a litter robot or something, then you're once every few years, then you're thinking more about average customer value. Like, can I get them to buy more with their litter robot? But if you're talking about a subscription service like protein powder, people are going to order, then it's about order cadence, subscription cadence. So there are a ton of potential variables put in there to calculate the amount of the market that is out there that you potentially can get and how you're going to ramp up into it. So that's a quick overview of TAM, determining the size of the market. And there are tons of details we can get into later about how to work it out more efficiently.
Hey, Devin, I got one question that'll be a good lead into what Rajah's going to talk about. When you compare yourself to an existing product in the market, okay, established, certain size, like or differentiation features, are there some key things a brand should do to be able to say, okay, we are like a Loa bar, I'm making it up, why do we feel this is our market size? Is there anything they can say or do or should show to say, okay, we know there's an existing market for this, but here's why we think we can cannibalize some of it or grow like it?
That's a good question. The best way to do it is to pair it with your differentiating factors. So if you're an improvement on the market leader, you say, we differentiate ourselves from the market leader with this factor. We're gluten-free. This percent of people are gluten-free. We think we can convert this many of those existing users. That would be a way to do it.
Yep. Okay, thank you. And that's a great lead into Rajah talking about, how to connect with the consumer, why you connect, how you continue to grow your market and expand your market by understanding who that client is. So I'm going to turn it over to Rajah Grar. Rajah is speaking with us for the first time, and we appreciate her being here. I had a great conversation with her yesterday on this topic. So Rajah, please introduce yourself and continue the conversation from there. Oh, Rajah, you're on mute. Please unmute yourself.
All right.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks, Tom. Super excited to be here and with all of you. Yeah, so I'm Raja Grar. I'm in Austin, Texas. I've been almost 20 years in consumer packaged goods in marketing. I started as a brand marketer. That's been my first love, and got me into this business career. And started in big CPG, so Miller Coors, Starbucks, Maple Leaf Foods, and also some global brands. And then I really loved the world of e-com, and 2017, sorry, I left CPG and brand marketing to become a category leader at Amazon for premium skincare. I wanted to learn e-com in and out. I wanted to know, as a marketer, to be able to control my own kind of destiny, and revenue driving was the best way to do that, and it was an amazing experience. And after that, I became a CMO about 5 years ago, and I've been in several roles. But what I've specialized in over the years is how to make a reposition brand, relaunch them, and transform them from a digital transformation as well as a brand transformation. And I've done that at Paula's Choice Skincare, driving incremental value to the company by almost 4x since my start working there, and getting them ready for an exit with Unilever, which is one of the biggest skincare exits in modern history. And I did the same work, took that same playbook. Then I became the chief digital officer at C4 Energy, C4 pre-workout. We're looking to take the company IPO, which we did, and then was able to get a strategic minority exit with stake, sorry, with Dr. Pepper. And I've been now advising, just like Devin, several early stage consumer brands. It's a passion of mine. And working also with Springdale Ventures here in Austin, a woman co-founded Austin-based VC in consumer goods as a venture partner. And so consumer connection, it's a topic that's really dear to my heart, because in some of the transformations or even the work that we've done with early stage founders, understanding your core consumer is so important for a business. It doesn't matter if you're starting out or you're at $100 million in top line. And I wish that for all of you here at one point. What's really key is understanding who is feeling a gap in their needs, and how your brand and your product is able to fulfill the need better than anybody else, better than any other brand. Understanding that core consumer from a psychographics, what type of hobbies they have, what type of mindset they have, what type of attributes they share, or demographics, what age, where do they live, is really important, especially when you start a brand and you are getting traction. Because once you identify that consumer that is most likely to be sticky, to love your product because they love that it's cleaner, that it's better for you. It doesn't have all the crap in terms of horrible preservatives products when it comes to food or beverage, but yet it gives them the functionality. And I take that as, for example, in the energy drink, it gives you that energy, that focus, but without the calories or the sugars. That is a unique value proposition that, of course, is really important to understand to which consumer group is that really important for, and how do we connect with that consumer. Then it's going to happen from a brand storytelling and a brand identity. And each brand there is reasons why people start brands, right? There is an amazing compelling story of someone who has not who was suffering from a certain skincare condition, like myself, for example. I always struggled with eczema. For me, when I went to work for Paula's Choice Skincare, I really resonated with the fact that it was a brand that was based and backed by the science, but also was clean and transparent in the way it communicated what it was in those products. And that really was something that we understood. A core consumer that always loved this brand absolutely valued in that brand, and we needed to service them best, meaning the way we speak to them, the marketing, the partnerships that we want to associate ourselves with are really in the bullseye of what that core consumer is resonating or is interested in hearing about. And that's really important to know that inside out, from that core consumer that's bringing the bulk of your revenue. And the way you're able to figure that out is through post-purchase surveys, through DTC. That's an amazing way. A lot of brands start that way. There is a richness of information that really is gold that you would not be able to get in retail, for example, if you start as retail as a channel, because that data about that customer for your brand, it's all the retailer that owns it. You cannot get that unless some retailers are able to sell those data, and you would not even get it at a consumer level. You just mainly get sales to spins, to other kind of market research companies that will sell you back that data, but you'll never get as clear of a cut and of a richness of data and information as you would get from your own direct-to-consumer channel. I hope that answers a little bit around consumer connection, how to identify your core consumer. But also one other thing that I'd like to add is, once you know who's that heavy consumer that is sticky, that is staying with you over a longer lifetime and a higher LTV or a lifetime value, and stays with your brand for months and months, even years, it's really very worth your while. And I see a lot of founders or even operators that get to the $40-50 million in annual revenue, or even 10, and they're not that close with their consumer. You would ask them, why do they find your brand so special? Why that consumer or customer comes back over and over to buy? And you would not really, they don't have that information. Whereas it's so key to have that information, because that's what's enabling you to drive more sales with that customers, to also identify what other areas in their lives that are not currently serviced well in other categories, where you're able to even launch new product launches, adjacent categories, flavors for beverage or food, and it could result in a very high incremental revenue with very little lift, because you've already done the job to launch this brand. It's really more just a plug and repeat. And a lot of, when you don't know that right customers, then you're just innovating and you're trying to throw stuff at the board and see what sticks. And that is where a lot of businesses go in trouble, where there's not enough profitability in all those initiatives or partnerships or marketing initiatives that they're currently activating or making bets on, because it's not aligned to that core consumer that is going to pay the bills at the end of the day.
Hey, Raja, that's terrific. I got a comment and a question. My comment is, I think you just pointed out how purposeful knowing your customer is, because it gives you so much opportunity to know the data and learn what that customer needs. So if you are a beverage and they need some functional need, if you know who your client is, as you said, that lift is not that great to say, oh, I have another product for you. And I think a lot of brands, I talk to brands who say, oh, I have 20 products ready to go. And we had this conversation yesterday because Target wants this, or Costco wants that, or HEB asked for this. So I have a powder, and I have a drink, and I have a shot. And you start trying to get those folks to really focus on what they are going to succeed at now. And I think you pointed that out so well, in terms of knowing that allows you to expand wisely, to expand your product set wisely. My question to you, one we talked about yesterday too, is, if you know that market, and you talked about this, if you know that market and you know the consumer and know where they are, you can prove to an investor how you're going to grow. You get a lot of backing for your numbers. Could you talk about that a little bit? Because, meeting the customer where they are is so important.
Absolutely. I think and this is why I've been so passionate and very grateful to have had, over 2-3 years of now VC experience, because it really makes you understand what investors and how VC firms and investors are looking at the quality of what a portfolio company could offer before the investment is made or there's a commitment. when you show that discipline and that knowledge and that intentional way of managing your business as a founder or an operator to an investor, they have more confidence that they know that you know what you're doing, right? And that also you have a good grasp on your consumer and the market. And hence you have a more profitable business because you're not all over the place. What we see in some of these brands or investments or portfolio companies, too much expansion, too early in too many retailers, without a realm of reasons of why did you choose the retailer. I'm a premium brand, whether it's a personal care or beauty brand, but I'm in DTC, and I'm also I'm launching in Target, but I'm also looking to go at Anthropology, or Walmart and Anthropology. Like, who's your consumer? Is it a premium, or is it a mass consumer that's not too discerning and is not going to pay a premium price for your product? So there's a disconnect. And that sometimes just signals that not only the company is not as efficient managing their cash and managing the resources. Because when not every revenue or money that comes from a retailer or opportunity is worth pursuing, because there's an opportunity cost when you're spending time to set up a new SKU at HEB or Target, or any other retailer, especially when you're at the beginning of the journey where you're a founder, maybe you have a lean team, everyone's doing everything. You're taking away your attention from something that driving revenue. Maybe it's your Amazon business that has a higher contribution margin as a channel, brings you more profitability, but you're taking away manpower from that channel to go and launch a SKU at a retailer where you need to learn everything from scratch. That is not a good way of efficiently using your resources and will show up in your financials over time, either your cash flow or your profitability or your ability to grow in the future.
I think the key word I took away from all that is your intent to grow. You use that word, that you can show that investor your intent, how you would intend to grow. I think that is just a marvelous way for an entrepreneur to think about, how am I going to explain my growth? Well, I have these reasons for thinking this is how I'm going to grow. And I think that's a real feather in their quill there, where they can say, hey, I know how to grow this brand. And that, what you said, gives confidence to those companies that are looking to add to their portfolio.
Exactly. And also it gives them confidence, but also there is runway. It signals to the investor, I'm going to be investing in this company that's doing already so well. It has middle or beginning, high double digit or middle double digit growth, already in this little segment on this one channel. When I put in my money as an investor, then there is so much runway for growth. Then it's going to be able to drive extra 75% of a market that's not even tapped into because they're tight on cash. So it just gives a lot of opportunities to get the right investors to give you the capital, so you're growing and bringing in great performance for those investors and yourself.
That is wonderful, Devin. I'm gonna throw it back to you. See if you have any closing remarks based upon everything that was said. So if you do, we'd love to hear anything that you thought of while this was going on, and anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, I think that was wonderful, Raja. Actually, I have a kind of a question. I'd like to hear, when you see people come who really know their customer, how can you tell that, and how are they getting their information? What are the best ways for them to collect the information? I mean, I know that we could do existing customer surveys, focus groups. There are probably other methods. What do you see as the best ways to get data, and what shows that people know what they're going for in their customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Post-purchase surveys are absolutely key because that is really easy to implement with your email system. The other piece, I think, especially when you're starting, social is such an amazing mine of information. Being close to that consumer, talking to them through your social platforms, but you're not just posting, you're interacting. you're giving them, you're posting on stories, you're posting on content by asking them to be participating, telling you what are they feeling tensions in terms of your product and what the needs that you're trying to serve, and what currently do they like about your offering or they don't like about your offering, what next new product launches they'd like to see from you. Those are all ways that you're able to get more and more of those insights. There is also, if you have a little bit more money, it's worth investing in a quantitative study, that you could do with a market research company. But I don't really, advise that until you're really over couple or $3 to $5 million in annual revenue, so that at least you're going to have a great body of sample size that you're going to have and derive insights from. I think also it's all the DTC metrics. I mean, yes, we talked about there is repeat purchase rate, there is all the Klaviyo or email data in terms of life cycle, retention, repeat purchase rate, like I said. And also, I think the other piece is just one of the best ways as why I really loved marketing and fell in love with it. I love talking to people. I'm a student of people. I had the chance of living in many countries, working in many consumer segments, from beer with Coors Light at the beginning of my career, to a juice brand that I, launched and expanded in Latin America and other parts of the world. I worked on Hispanic marketing with Kellogg's. I worked with General Market and with C4 Energy and with the beauty and wellness market. And what I never fails, I love going to retail, seeing how people shop in my category,
Right.
see how are they shopping for the competitors. Then I like to strike conversation, try, for people who are shy, it may take, few more times, but I do think it's a skill to really just be passionate about learning and learning what moves your category and what moves your consumer and customer.
The grocery aisle is such a great, I mean, you could, most people do their shopping at certain times of the day. That Wednesday ads come out. So, if you go Wednesday at 1 o'clock, you'll see what people bought off the shelves because they'll be empty. They'll be in the process of restocking. Check what people are restocking. Check what the clerks are restocking. These are the things that will
That's a great
tell
point.
you what's going on the aisle that you'll never get from e-commerce. You'll never get anywhere else. Just
Yeah.
watch that aisle, go at the different times of day when go at lunch. If you're a product that, people grab on the go at lunchtime and watch what people are grabbing in the grab and go section. If you're a processed meal or a ready to drink, energy drink, check and see what people are pulling off the shelf. See what's empty at 1:30 in the afternoon. You'll know what's going off the market. You can go to Whole Foods, and you can go to Sprouts, and you can go to Publix, and you'll know in seconds what really is happening, at lunchtime when maybe you want to be selling.
I agree. And I like to do it also as a great exploration to understand who are your competitors or who buys your competitors.
Right.
Store personnel are a mine of information. They love talking about who do they see buying this brand versus this brand. Do you think it's moving? And that's gold. You have to have that awareness of your competitive set as well. Of course, at the beginning, you have to stay in your lane and see how you can build that customer base and drive that revenue. But you have to also be externally focused, because especially in consumer, it's so competitive. It's not what it used to be. DTC cost of acquisitions are rising. Cash is scarce, capital markets, there, a lot of uncertainty. So it takes a lot to get a consumer brand off the ground, but also it takes a lot of time and studying and discipline to get great businesses that have a solid business foundation and consumer foundation to be successful.
And one thing to add, which is that, when you understand, who is reaching for products on the shelf, you start to get that feeling of how do you fit, and you can watch it, you can see who's grabbing, you can see Is it, you know, mothers shopping for their kids? Is it, you know, the person on the run? You start to understand that, and it's really such important lifestyle data that you can't ask people about, because people will say, "Oh yeah, I'm a regular gym goer." Well, they go once every 6 weeks and they have a subscription, you know. So you start to really see who's walking in, what they look like, what they're grabbing. You can make the, you know, do they have 2 kids in tow? You know, are they, you know, running to the office, back to the office? You know, you can tell all those things, and you get a marvelous amount of information that you get from watching people as opposed to trying to even run the data.
Love that.
So with that, I'm going to have Jenna put everybody in a room. You'll get a little button there. This is your time.